Today I'm doing a different type of video. This is no fun and jokes. This is no prank. I am being very serious today. This video is about when I lost my father and how I felt and basically how I dealt with everything. So my father's name is Keith Anthony Eubanks Senior. I say senior because I have an older brother who is Keith Anthony Eubanks Jr. My father, he's alright. This is a really hard video for me to do, so if you guys see me crying, just understand it's hard. My father died July 25th, 2016. At that time I was attending high school. I was going to turn 50 in 1 month later. This was really one of those times where I would say depressed, torn apart, but let's get into it.
Daddy.
And I know I don't look the same being alone. I don't walk the same without you on my arm. I lost my charm. I don't know how I made it before, 'cause you are my future for sure. And now that it's over, I don't know how I'm gonna get by with no more you.
So, growing up as a child, my father wasn't really there. I was always with my mother. Mommy raised me from birth. My father was there when I was like about 2, 3, thereabout. I'm not really 100% sure, but he used to take me to the beach with my bigger brother Keith. So I knew Keith from I was a baby. He wasn't really the type of father to be there. Alright, he wasn't really there like he was supposed to, but I still loved him. He was still my father despite it all. So when he died, I did not know until about 3 weeks after. There I was one lovely Sunday morning, chilling with my mom and my older sister Andrea. At that time I didn't have a phone. I had a tablet and I had Messenger on the tablet, so I was using Messenger to communicate with my other siblings. Then I got a message from my sister Akila. She wasn't aware that I did not know, because my mother found out basically the same day. I am not sure why she did not say anything to me, but that's how it went down. My sister Akila sent me a photograph of my father on ice, with his nose stuffed.
For a minute, then I pinch myself. I can't believe I'm here by myself. I can't do anything without your help. All for you, no more you.
That was how I found out. Nobody sat me down to say, this is what happened, this is what is happening. I just went on Messenger, received a message, not even a text message, a picture of my father and aunt. At the time, I didn't really take it as hard as it was. Basically, I just got the message, showed my mom, and I was like, "Mommy, is this true?" She's like, "Yeah, but I never want them to send her the message. I didn't want to tell her myself. Just to do that, wait for the right time." Then in my head, I was like, when is going to be the right time? How do you sit a child down to tell that child, "Daddy, you're not gonna see back daddy again. You're not gonna hear back him voice again." So that was how I found out. Immediately after she said that she was waiting for the right moment, all I could do was cry. I didn't know how to feel, how to react, what to think. All I could do was cry. She brought me to church, and she made the pastor talk to me. He was basically talking to me about my feelings, how I felt, how I think the situation should have went down, how I think everything should have played out, what's going through my mind, etc. But at that moment, I didn't want to hear anything about it. I didn't want to talk about it, because technically I did not believe. Yes, I saw the message, but I still did not believe. My sister Apple was the one who I always talked to. So in order to basically put everything behind so I could focus, I started having multiple sleepovers with Apple. Now, during all this, bear in mind, my father was not there with me when I was younger, growing up. I hardly even knew anything about him. So basically, I made him my reason to continue living. I made my world revolve around him. I wanted to grow up so he could see little Ally. I wanted to grow up so he could just so he could see that the child he basically abandoned became something great. That wasn't going to happen. So basically my world crashed before my eyes. I still did not take it as hard for the first week after I found out. But then hearing everybody talk about their parents, it kinda did something there. So when we had PTAs at school, my mother, before my father died, she always attended every PTA at school. It was never a bother to me. But after my father died, it's like I did not want her around. It's like basically I was shutting her out. I did not want to relax with her. I did not want to hug her. I did not want to go out with her. I did not want to be seen around her. And I became depressed. My only source of comfort was my sister, Apple. I would go over her house. We would go to Carib, we would go to the beach, we would go over my big brother, we would have sleepovers at other siblings. We would just basically enjoy ourselves to free our minds until it became closer and closer to funeral day. My father was buried August 19, 2016. My birthday was August 21st. Not a wonderful birthday. Before the funeral, the day before the funeral, I did not cry. I just sorted out my clothes, got my hair fixed, got my jewelry set, and we were having a sleepover at my sister Farina. Apple and I, the night before we didn't really care, because we were saying, okay, he wasn't there before, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. But then on funeral day, reality hits. We traveled to the funeral and everything was okay. Everything was normal. But then when we got to the church and we were supposed to go in, I couldn't go in. I stood at the door for about 5 minutes looking inside. Then I walked over to the casket. Seeing the casket, from the distance that I was at, it looked empty. And I got closer and I looked inside. I couldn't recognize the person I see in there.
No more you, but no more you. What am I gonna do? No more you.
Remember, he was not there before. He did not show any interest to be there. So I didn't really know anything about him. I could not remember how he looked. I could not remember his voice. I could not remember how his hugs felt. I could not remember what's his favorite. I didn't even know what's his favorite color, and he's my father. So when I got to the casket, I didn't recognize the person inside. It just felt like a mystery in a sense. Just the fact that you're at a funeral of your father's funeral and he's being buried 2 days before your birthday and you don't know nothing about him except his name and his occupation. So I was there staring at him and trying to get like a flashback or just one memory or something to say, yeah, at him. Didn't get anything. I stood there for about 10 minutes looking. Then I decided I'm going to touch him. So I lift his hand and put my hand under there. His hand was soft. I thought it would be frozen or something, but his hand was soft. I started crying. When I started crying, I saw my brother, Keith. He came inside and seeing Keith, when you're around Keith, you don't want to cry. Because Keith, he would say, he had a gangster. I think he had a gangster. So immediately I stopped crying. And I went back to sit. I went to sit down. Family, all his kids were on the front and the second bench. First and second bench. I was sitting beside my sister Apple. Funeral started and I noticed none of my siblings nor myself, except Keith Jr., was on the program. So I was like, okay, maybe there's going to be an open tribute, so I could do something just to say bye or whatever. No. There was no open tributes. Funeral continued and I cried the entire ceremony. I wasn't crying because he was gone. I was crying because I made my entire world revolve around him. I wanted to grow up to show him he was wrong, basically. But that didn't happen.
Can't believe this anymore. I look at my passenger side and there's nobody to ride with me for night. It feels like the end. I lost my friend. I can't sleep at night because your side ain't occupied. I hurt in my eyes won't go away.
Funeral was over and we went to the burying ground. On our way there, I wasn't sad. I didn't feel anyway, but like I said, reality hits and I saw him going down into the ground. Seeing everything play out before my eyes, I kind of couldn't handle it in a sense. So I started crying. No. After the whole funeral thing, and feeling depressed, feeling down and broken. My birthday was coming up. So for that birthday, I did not go anywhere. I decided I didn't want to enjoy myself. I wanted to be locked away from everybody. I wanted to be by myself. I did not want to hear anybody. I did not want to see anybody. I did not want to be corresponding with anybody. My mother then decided I needed counseling, which I am not the type of person to be open or open-minded to anybody. So that wasn't working out. I became, I would say, cold-hearted, because there was one incident where my sister and I had a big fight, my bigger sister, and I sat and watched the iron burn. Well, I watched the iron hot, plug it in, watch it hot, and then use it burn her, because she beat me for being disrespectful. So going to school and being on the road and seeing all the fathers with their kids, that kind of got to me. So I was becoming very, very, very angry, very depressed. When we had extracurricular activities at school and it involved parents, I did not say anything to my mother. I did not want her to be there. When we had PTA, I did not want to see her there either. There was a point where I would be like in the house sleeping for the entire day. I would literally, I'm not being extra or anything, I would literally sleep for the entire day, not eat anything nor go anywhere. Nobody would even know that I'm home. So my depression got to a stage where I started hurting myself. I would get razors and slice my wrist or my leg, or I would get the cashew, stick the pen in it and use the liquid from the cashew to burn myself, which would leave a mark. Then there was a point where my brother realized it was not easy for me, so he decided he was going to help me. I asked him one day to take me to the grave, because I haven't, after he died, I didn't go there to look. So I asked my brother to take me there. When we got there, I couldn't say anything. All I could do was cry. I cried. I wanted to cry going, but as I said, being around Keith, you don't want to cry. So I cried when I got there. Walking down and seeing the graves, I was like, okay, reality is about to hit again. Okay, life is about to slap me in my face. And I started crying as soon as we found the grave. And I cried there for about 1 hour and a half before we left. After we left, I was still crying for a little while. Then when I got home, I stopped and I was like, okay, the day has ended, let's continue. But the depression continued. I started turning my back on people. I didn't want people around me. I didn't want friends. I became antisocial. I became very disrespectful. I became very lackadaisical. I wanted to scull school, scull class, run away from home, which I did about twice, and I didn't know how to handle it. I went to counseling at school, but that wasn't helping either. I didn't see myself getting better. So what I did was I set new goals. I no longer wanted my life to revolve around my father because it was hurting me too much. But I was still angry. I would cry myself to sleep, cry after I wake up, cry when I bed, cry when I brush my teeth, when I'm looking at the mirror. There was one point where I didn't recognize myself. I was dark on the inside. I hated everybody. I didn't want to hear nothing from nobody. Then there was one point where I was failing academically because of this. I didn't really talk about my feelings because I didn't know how to handle it, so I didn't. What I want to say is, fathers, if you have a child, please be there for the child. Whether you're dead or you're alive, the life of that child will still revolve around you. If you are not there for a child, the child will want to grow up, prove you wrong, prove everything you said wrong. When you're dead, reality hits. How I dealt with my depression, I basically started writing how I felt. So I got books on top of books, and I started to write. That's where I found my love for English. I wrote stories, I wrote poems, I wrote down how I felt, I wrote their diary letters, I wrote their daddy letters, I did videos, I did everything. So that's basically how I vented out my anger. Everything seemed like it was going okay until I noticed that I wasn't feeling like myself. So I would be looking in the mirror for hours or minutes, not recognizing who I was, feeling like I don't have a purpose, I don't have a destiny, I don't have goals, I don't have nothing. I didn't really know how to deal with it until I started attending Spanish High School. The guidance counselor there really helped me. He showed me how to get over certain situations. He made me explain how I felt. Then he showed me a different way to look at life. So basically, I was really depressed. It still hurts now to think about it, and I still have not spoken to my mother about any of what I was going through. I believe that parents have a role to play in every child's life. Whether or not you want the child, you have a role to play. So if you get somebody pregnant and a child comes forth, if you don't have money, contribute love. If you don't have the assets to provide, contribute love. Not saying it's going to make everything seem better, no, but that is a vital part of your role. I continued visiting the grave. I showed up every year on the day he was buried, which is before my birthday. The year that I didn't get to, I went there, I think it was in March, with my brother. So yeah, even though he was not the best father in the world, I still loved my father, and I still made him a part of my heart. A lot of people would pass remarks and say, oh, well, it makes sense. Whatever I want. Like, you don't need him again. What purpose? Because there was a short period of time where he was there that left a mark. So, yeah. I use letters, poems. I use journals, diaries. And I wrote down everything. So basically, they say that talking could get you to feel better, but that wasn't working for me. My letters worked perfectly. I kinda didn't feel as bad as how I felt. Everything seemed like it was going okay until I noticed that I wasn't feeling like myself. So I would be looking in the mirror for hours or minutes, not recognizing who I was, feeling like I don't have a purpose, I don't have a destiny, I don't have goals, I don't have nothing. I didn't really know how to deal with it until I started attending Spanish High School. The guidance counselor there really helped me. He showed me how to get over certain situations. He made me explain how I felt. Then he showed me a different way to look at life. So basically, I was really depressed. It still hurts now to think about it, and I still have not spoken to my mother about any of what I was going through. I believe that parents have a role to play in every child's life. Whether or not you want the child, you have a role to play. So if you get somebody pregnant and a child comes forth, if you don't have money, contribute love. If you don't have the assets to provide, contribute love. Not saying it's going to make everything seem better, no, but that is a vital part of your role. So I continued visiting the grave. I showed up every year on the day he was buried, which is before my birthday. The year that I didn't get to, I went there, I think it was in March, with my brother. So yeah, even though he was not the best father in the world, I still loved my father, and I still made him a part of my heart. A lot of people would pass remarks and say, oh, well, it makes sense. Nobody want, like, you don't need him again. What purpose? Because there was a short period of time where he was there that left a mark. So, yeah.
Miss you, Daddy. Baby, you're all that I want.